Caleb, I just read a news report that said that the UAE, where you live, is now restricting all travel for people who aren't jabbed. So what are you gonna do now that you're stranded in your country? Oh my God, a scary article. I'm so scared. Incorrect. In this video, I'm gonna explain to you why Five Flags protects you against the very laws that restrict travel for most people who don't live a Five Flags or international lifestyle. I am Caleb Jones. This is Sovereign CEO. I teach people just like you how to set up location-independent businesses, move to a less bad country, or set up an international plan B and do all those things for very little money. So, as some of you clearly have heard, that my country where I live, the United Arab Emirates, I live in Dubai here right now, recently, early January, initiated a travel ban where if you do not have a cerveza sickness jab, all citizens are restricted from travel. Now, here's the problem. And this is a challenge on the internet. It's a challenge I've been fighting for most of my internet career as a professional blogger and then as an overall content provider, is the issue of reading comprehension. Most people on the internet have a reading comprehension level of around the 6th grade. So if you didn't know, that is people who are approximately 10 or 11 years old. And it's a challenge when people read scary articles or see scary headlines and immediately get scared, because that's the era in which we live. We live in an era now where men in particular read a scary headline or a scary article and freak out. Oh my God, because most men are betas. And this is a trend that is getting worse as the Western world continues to collapse. The key word in this law is citizens. Okay, they didn't say everyone living in Dubai. They said United Arab Emirates citizens. That means you are a legal citizen, as I've explained many times here at Sovereign CEO. You are a legal citizen of that country with a passport. Is that me? No. I am not a citizen of the United Arab Emirates, and I never will be, because Five Flags tenets state that you are not a citizen of where you live. You are a resident where you live. You are not a citizen. So if you had actually understood the article you read, and clearly you didn't, or worst case scenario, you didn't even read an article, you just saw a scary headline and then commented about it because you're a big beta, you would have noticed that all foreign resident workers, that includes me, are exempted from this law. I will talk more about that in a minute, but the most important thing to recognize here is that yes, as the Western world continues to collapse, and as the entire world, even outside of the West, continues to embrace authoritarianism in the face of the cerveza sickness and other things, yes, you're going to see more and more restrictions on your travel. More and more laws restricting people from travel, more and more laws restricting people from exiting or entering certain countries, more and more laws that make it more difficult to travel internationally. That is correct. That is why Five Flags today is so important. 10 years ago, Five Flags or an international lifestyle of some sort was an option. You didn't need to do it. It was just an interesting extra thing you could do that added some extra benefits to your life. Today, unless you want to be stuck 100% in the country in which you live, which, as I've talked about many times here at Sovereign CEO, is a really bad idea when you live in a collapsing Western society, you will need to initiate some international aspects to your life. If that means foreign passports, if that means foreign residencies, which are easier to get than passports, if that means setting up an international plan B, various other things, you're going to need to do this, as travel restrictions increase throughout the entire world. There will be more and more of these every 6 months, every year. There'll be more and more restrictions like this, and you need to be prepared for it and not freak out like a frightened little sheep every time you read a new article or hear a new headline about this country has restricted this travel, that country has restricted these types of people from traveling, and so forth. Instead of freaking out about the collapse of the Western world, instead of freaking out about the authoritarianism that's covering the planet, prepare and plan for it. That's what I do. That's why I don't freak out. That's why everyone freaks out and I smile and have a great time, because I've planned for these things and I've integrated solutions to these problems into my life so that I'm okay. That's Five Flags. If you need help actually figuring out what country to move to or setting up a plan B for a different country, you can go to escapeplancourse.com. That is my course called Escape Plan. It shows you exactly how to pick a less bad country than the country you currently live in, and it gives you all the logistics on how to move to that country It's very worthwhile. It's almost kind of a mandatory thing in these days if you are a freedom-seeking person, and I strongly suggest you check that out. Now, I've covered this before. I'm going to cover this really quick because I've covered this in more detail in other videos of the podcast, how Five Flags works. Five Flags means you spread your life across 5 different countries, or close to it. The first country is country A. That is the country where you live, but where you are not a citizen. You don't hold a passport there for various important reasons, one of which in particular I'm going to demonstrate in a second. So you live there most of the year or full time, but you do not have a passport there. The second country is your country B. That is the country where you hold a passport or multiple passports, but you don't live there. Again, a core aspect of Five Flags is that you are not a citizen, resident, yes, but not a citizen of where you live. Very important. So then you have country C, where you have your business structure, your checking accounts, your business checking accounts, things like that. Then you have your country D, where you have your investments. You can have multiple country Ds. And then optionally, you have country E, which is where you buy your stuff in a place that has 0 or low VAT taxes. If you want more information on this kind of thing, you should subscribe to this channel. You should click the notification bell. You should like this video and leave a comment on this video. It doesn't matter what you say whatever you want. The more interactivity I get in this content, the more this content I will provide for you for free. But now you have seen a picture-perfect example of why you do not want to have a passport where you live. Because you're right. If I was living here in Dubai and a citizen, not a resident, a citizen of the United Arab Emirates with a passport, I would not be able to travel and I'd be in big, big trouble, wouldn't I? But I'm not. I follow Five Flags. And when you follow Five Flags, you are much more protected against these laws. Now that you've seen this example from the UAE, you now understand why it's really important to not be a citizen where you live. If you're a citizen, not a resident, if you're a citizen of where you live, if you hold the passport of the country where you live, that country has a lot more power over you in terms of taxation, in terms of regulation, and in terms of travel. Whereas if you are a resident of a country where you live, you are exempt from most or if not all of these types of restrictions, bans, and laws. Not all laws, but these kinds of laws that restrict travel and various other things. Not to mention taxes. You're not going to be taxed nearly as much if you are a resident of a country than if you are a citizen of a country in most countries. Being a citizen now of where you live in the modern era in the collapsing Western world is now dangerous. It's not a smart idea. So if you live in the United States and that's where you have your citizenship, that's not smart. If you live in the UK, Germany, Australia, and that's where you have your citizenship, not smart. What you should do is go to a less bad country. All countries are bad, but some are less bad than others. A less bad country, become a legal resident in that country, keep your citizenship if you want in your collapsing Western country. That's okay, although there are exceptions to that rule as well. Americans have to pay taxes even if they leave the country. But anyway, then you have much more freedom of mobility and travel and taxes in that new scenario when you are not a citizen of where you live. That's number one. Number two, whenever you read a scary article on the internet, two things. Please, number one, actually read the article carefully. Carefully. Don't just scan through the article and go, oh my God, Caleb's fucked. Don't do that. Or don't read through the article and go, oh no, Cervasis sickness vaccine passports. Oh shit, we're all fucked. Calm down, take a deep breath, read the article carefully. If you don't fully understand the article, then do some more research on what that article is talking about. If you had done the research instead of just scanned a scary headline or scanned a scary article, you would have read down at the bottom of the article that non-citizen resident workers in the United Arab Emirates, that's me, are exempt from this law. And guess what? In the United Arab Emirates, they will continue to be exempt because unlike the United States, unlike the collapsing West, unlike Western Europe, the United Arab Emirates actually wants to be an international player. And they know if they enact these laws where they restrict travel from 90% of their population, they will fail. So they will not do this. The Western world, on the other hand, doesn't give a shit. They're all into the Great Reset and all this other bullshit. They don't care because they're already, at least they think, on the top of the world. So they don't have the motivation to be nice to their citizens and or their resident workers that up and coming countries like the United Arab Emirates do. That's why I'm actually much safer from these types of regulations in the authoritarian United Arab Emirates than I am in a place like the UK, Australia, United States, Canada, and so on, the authoritarian West. This specific instance of yet another country imposing hard travel bans on citizens, not residents, should be another wake-up call for those of you who have been sitting on your ass and haven't been doing anything. I don't need to move out of my country. It's not that bad yet. I don't need to set up an international plan B. I'll be fine. Oh, it's okay. This is all hysteria. Everything will be just fine. How many times do you need to see more countries cracking down on their citizens, not residents? How many more travel bans do you need to see? How many more border closures do you need to see as people get more and more excited about the cerveza sickness, about the latest variant? We're going to have a new variant to the cerveza sickness every 6 months for the rest of our lives, and people are going to keep freaking out about this. It's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse as the Western world continues to collapse. If you sit on your ass and do nothing and pretend everything's fine like it's 1986, you're in big trouble. If instead you recognize the world is changing and you need to change with it if you want to maintain a free and happy lifestyle, I strongly suggest you get into some of my materials or other people's materials on how to set up a location-independent business, okay? Location-independent income, move to a less bad country, or at a bare minimum, set up a plan B, a backup plan in case there's a problem with your country. You could just hop on a plane and they'll let you out of the country because of your plan B and you're good to go at a bare minimum. Food for thought. If you want more detail on Five Flags and exactly how it works, you should watch this podcast video right here where I explain Five Flags in great detail. I will see you in the next video. Have fun.